Hey, Seth David, your managing editor here with Between Wall and Main, betweenwallandmain.com. Bringing to you Connecting the Dots, your weekly recap right here at betweenwallandmain.com. I want to start off by sharing something that I've learned from our friends at Intuit, a variation on the theme of their mission statement that I've learned to adopt for myself is focus on helping everyone around you by looking for ways to improve their lives so profoundly they couldn't imagine going back to the old way. Imagine going through your day every day with that in mind, with that goal, with that focus to improve the lives of everyone around you so dramatically, so profoundly that they couldn't imagine going back to the old way. Imagine how many people would want to work with you and do business with you and how that would impact and help you to grow your own business. That's where we should be focused, on the positive, not the negative, on how we can improve people's lives rather than how we can avoid disaster. Wall Street took a nice little hit this week. Of course, I probably don't have to tell you. I'm sure you're very aware if you've been living outside of a cave all week. Then you know by now that Britain made the decision to leave the European Union in a very close vote, just barely sided in favor of leaving. It was like 52 to 48%, something like that. And of course, everybody panicked and went running for the hills, and the Dow crashed, and the 30-year treasuries and 20-year treasuries took a hit. Interestingly, I noticed a lot of retail stocks seemed largely unaffected by this. The good news, as my friend Joe Whithone points out right here in his column Wit and Wisdom, is that typically after events take place, cooler heads prevail and give an experienced, emotionless-driven assessment of things. And he goes on to say, maybe we've already seen this as the Dow rebounded 150 points from the sharp decline seen shortly after the opening bell yesterday on Friday, June 24th, 2016. In brighter news, we had an amazing week on Main Street here at Between Wall and Main. So I want to give you a recap to encourage you to please take the time to read this content. It's amazing content. I consider myself to be very lucky, to be very fortunate to have managed to assemble such an amazing team of writers and people who are so passionate about their own businesses, and maybe more importantly, they're passionate about helping others with their businesses. We have a great team of accounting professionals assembled here writing for our Main Street side. And stay tuned for the Wall Street side. We're working on getting some people through some compliance clearance so that they can write freely here on BetweenWallAndMain.com. So Billy Ann Gregg has got a column called Pocket Change, and really the focus of it is how making those small changes add up to making the big differences in your business. And this week, she gives us some great advice. We're taught how important it is to let go. And she tells us her story about what a difference it made when she hired a virtual assistant to do some of the things that she really didn't need to be spending time doing. And then as she found out, and I could share the exact same parallel story that I had experienced this year, in terms of hiring virtual assistants to help us delegate things that we shouldn't be spending our time doing, and how that impacts our business so positively because now we're able to grow and scale in ways that we couldn't before because we were too busy flying that control freak flag high, as Billy Ann puts it, and wanting to do everything. We have to learn to let go. So Billy Ann Gregg, her article this week, amazing Pocket Change. Of course, you'll see the link right here in the write-up with the video that you're now watching. Mariette Martinez is head over here for Solopreneurs. This week, she leads us off with a great write-up on which accounting solutions are best for those newer, smaller startups. She gives a great breakdown on the important criteria to use when evaluating the choices, narrows it down to her top 3, and next she's going to break it down for us even further. Whether you're an accounting professional who serves the small business or the small business owner who's trying to figure out the accounting for your own business, this series is a must-read. You've got to catch Mariette's column here. Head over here for Solopreneurs. Next, we have Loretta Finnis, the lovely Loretta from the lovely AU, Australia, teaching us the importance of your business. This week, we learn about the importance of rolling with the changes. The movement to the cloud is not a new conversation. And Loretta does an amazing job breaking it down for us. There's several lessons here. And the one that moves me the most is based on something that, again, I've already experienced in my own business. Leveraging cloud technology has made it much easier for us early adopters to scale our business. Eventually, everyone will be forced into this. Maybe not tomorrow or even in a year from now, but eventually. We're always better off embracing the change rather than being forced into it. Read Loretta's article to learn more. Katrina Way teaches us about the importance of numbers. This week, she paints an all too familiar picture of what happens in a small business when you aren't paying attention to the numbers. There's a cost of unhealthy numbers. The good news is that there is a solution. So if you find that you or one of your clients are in this predicament, it's okay. The trick is not to beat yourself up, but instead to do something about it. Katrina's column, Resonating Numbers, will prove to be an outstanding resource for both the prevention and the cure. Next, we have Ryan Balf, my good friend from the East Coast, telling us not to bank on the bank accounts, and he's absolutely correct about this. If we only look at the bank balance, then we're not seeing the bigger picture. We might have money in the bank, but where did it come from? How did it get there? Earlier this week, I was looking at a company's balance sheet. They have negative equity, which means they've drawn out more from the business than they've earned and put in cumulatively over the years. How's this possible? I'll paint a picture for you to help illustrate the point that Ryan makes really well this week. The company I was looking at had negative $30,000 in total equity. When I asked the bookkeeper whose client's books I was helping her with if she understood how this was possible, she was not immediately clear. I broke down the balance sheet for her. The total liabilities were about twice what had been drawn out to date. About half of those liabilities were loans. The important thing to understand is that what has been drawn out and what remains in the bank is not coming from operations. It's coming from financing activities, and this is no way to run a business. Follow Ryan's weekly column to keep learning about this. This is what can make or break a business. Next, introducing Jennifer Brown, enrolled agent, who tells us how to keep our money. This week, she warns us that there are new scams out there aiming to tug on your heartstrings and get you to donate money for the victims of the Orlando tragedy. Unfortunately, most of these charities are a scam. This week, Jennifer kicks things off in her column by showing us how to make sure that we're donating our hard-earned money to a legitimate organization. Lori O'Neill is working on her business instead of in it, and this week she explains what that really means and gives some amazing tips about how to make sure you're able to make this switch. Most of us are too busy being reactive instead of proactive in our business. In our article this week, Lori gives us some great tips for how we can make the change. And here's a hint: you have to take action. Lori gives us some very specific actions we can take to start moving our businesses in the right direction with us as the leaders instead of employees. And I'm definitely going to take her tips this week and actually use them myself. They were really, really great tips. Pamela Leverance tells us it's time to get clear about a few things. First, Pamela teaches us that it's important to be clear on what we want and whom we want to serve. I've been writing a great deal this year about how important it is to get and stay focused on our mission. Pamela underscores this and then makes a really interesting observation while recounting part of her own experience. Her roles have changed a few times in her career, and this is a good thing, especially when we change our minds based on an awareness and clarity about changes in priorities and where those changes are coming from. Next, Pamela tells us how we, and why we should, search fearlessly within ourselves to figure out what we really want to be doing and whether or not we are there right now. Pamela gives us a great tip which goes very well alongside Lori O'Neill's tips as far as how to make the time to spend some time working on guiding our business instead of working for it. William English reminds us of an old classic this week: to everything there is a season. Turn, turn, turn. We're talking about inventory turnover and how important it is to get a handle on this for the business who sells products. William's column is an absolute must-read. Alicia Pollock gives us a real time-saving iOS tip this week. If you have an iPhone and would like to get your messages out faster, then you must read Alicia's article and be sure to watch the video, hover your mouse over the image, or in her article, and you'll see how you can save a lot of time and get messages out much quicker. Desiree Anderson tells us of things to come in her debut post, but perhaps there's a more important message in her article here on Between Wall and Main. If you or anyone you know is presently undergoing an audit, then this week's article from Desiree is an absolute must-read. In the bigger picture, everyone who owns a business or serves those who do needs to follow Desiree's column each week. After reading it myself, I had a feeling of ease and comfort where I would normally feel panic about the prospect of being audited. She does an amazing job of letting us know that it's going to be okay and there is a solution no matter what. Ingrid Estrom, last but definitely not least, kicked us off this week with Crushing Your Comfort Zone, a high-impact post about what it takes to be truly remarkable with your business. And I quoted her here: "Nonetheless, the big moments that define us are the ones where we try new things, not just stepping out of our comfort zones, but crushing them." Staying in your comfort zone means staying with the status quo. That's no way to run your business, and Ingrid does an amazing job of showing us this in her article this week. Don't panic. Focus on what you can control, you and your reactions. Then focus on your business. And once again, one of the most important things I learned from my friends at Intuit is to focus on helping everyone around you by looking for ways to improve their lives so profoundly they couldn't imagine going back to the old way. That's the news and the recap for this week. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic week, and I'll see you on the web.